Let me just read to you what the definition of reparations is. The making of amends for a wrong one has done by paying money to or otherwise helping those who have been wronged. In other words, please give us back what was taken. Can I get a clap up for that? Absolutely, absolutely. So we're gonna learn a little bit more about reparations this evening. There's a lot going into it, bills being passed and things like that. So we are making progress. That's a plus. We are definitely making some progress. Without further ado, we're gonna get this program started. And right now, to sing the National Black Anthem is Jeremy from The Remedy.
All right.
Lift every voice and sing to earth and heaven, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let us rejoice and rise. High as the listening skies, let us resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Want to do something that's very important for our community. We always begin important celebrations and important events with something we call libation. And libation is a very important African ritual, but it's also done in other cultures as well, where we pay honor and pour libation for our ancestors who suffered and died during the transatlantic slave trade. Next, we pour a libation for those who suffered and died on plantations. Plantations all over the world, working for free, which is what reparations is all about. Our ancestors built cities, and universities, and edifices all over the world, as well as picked cotton and sugar cane and all of those things on plantations. So we pour libation for our ancestors that suffered during those slavery times. Next, we pour libation for our freedom fighters, those who resisted, who fought against racism, who fought against injustice, who fought against repression all over the world. And some of those same ancestors began the fight for reparations. This is a very, very old fight. Our ancestors have been struggling with this fight for many years. So we pour libation for our freedom fighters. Those like Dr. Conrad Worrell, Anderson Townsend, Nat Turner, Denmark Vesey, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey. There's so many I could stand here all day to name them. But we pour libation for our freedom fighters. Next, we pour libation for our artists. I'm an artist, and many artists in Chicago have contributed all over the world, or have contributed to what makes us human. To civilization, they've also continued our struggle through the art. Many artists have dedicated their lives to our struggle and to the freedom of our people. So we pour libation for our artists, drummers, dancers, singers, writers, fashion designers, any art poets, all of those artists, we pour libation for them. Now we'd like to pour libation for our own personal family members and loved ones who have gone on. And it's very important that we keep that circle unbroken by remembering them, by calling their names. So I ask if you please call out the names of some of your personal family members who have transitioned, who have gone on, so that they can be refreshed and we can let them know that we still remember them and we still love and honor them. Thank you so much. We pour libation for our loved ones.
outside tonight. I'm having a great time. Well, I can't go too far. You having a good time so far? I just feel like I'm connected to the ancestors, like on some real stuff. I absolutely love it. One time for the great Black Ice.
What do we want? 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 Y'all put y'all hands together for all our brothers and sisters who have fought the fight and couldn't see today. So when I say get your knee off my neck, I need y'all to say I can't breathe. Get your knee off my neck. 400 years of disrespect, inequality, and it's bothering me, but they not listening. The only time they seem to pay attention is when we're out there looting and breaking something. But they're too blind to see that this is live on TV. Unscramble the line, straighten the antenna. Let's go back to 1619 Virginia, America. This is when we stepped off the slave ships and stepped on the auction block. Sold to the highest bidder like livestock. Since that moment, we've been playing on two separate fields to two different clocks, and you got the nerve to use your stopwatch. How am I ever going to catch up to you when you've had a 400-year head start? Back then, they made it unlawful for us to read, but now they trying to make it unlawful for us to breathe. Get your knee off my neck.
Black Ice, I told y'all, that brother deep. You need a church of inspiration, sir. You hear me? Like seriously, I can just listen to you all day. So encouraging. One more time for Black Ice. At this time, coming to our stage, if you will, Beatrice Boyce and Lakeisha Latham.
Good evening, everyone.
Hey, how y'all doing?
I'm Beatrice Boyce,
I'm Lakeisha Latham.
and we're the Conway World Community Reparations Commission. So we're the ones responsible for putting on this event today. Many of you don't know. We have a whole lot of other successes under our belt. Is that correct?
We do.
We do. So many of you don't know that we started this mission back in 2019 with quite a few other people that you may know by name.
Yes.
How about the great Dr. Willie Wilson? Yes. So he was one of the key people to really at least start reparations in the city of Chicago. And it was our pleasure to work with him in getting that task done. Who else was there at the beginning, Lakeisha?
Alderman Roger Sawyer.
Yes, 6th Ward, City of Chicago. We also owe homage to Alderman Stephanie Coleman, who was very brave in taking in legislation and pushing it through council in 2024 so that we get a line as a freshman. So we could get a line item in the budget for the city of Chicago for the first time ever in 2024. So give her a hand clap.
And we were supported by our community partners that came out in the initiative. We got Black Roots Alliance in the house.
Yes.
We have EAT in the house. That's right. Clap it up. Because without us all coming together, it would not have happened, okay? We had Reparations United. Brother Jamoke is here representing. There he is.
Brother Jamoke, where you at?
Yes. And our dear Robin Bruce Simmons.
Yes.
She
Everybody
was behind the scenes helping us, speaking to us. And then we had in Cobra, Chicago.
Yes.
Brother Darrell, Sister Miranda Alexandria. So we are excited.
And also, Afro Elite, yes.
Afro Elite came.
And we also need to get homage to Mr. Cam Howard, who also was a part of this great initiative.
Absolutely.
Now, the whole reason why we're here honoring the greatest, one of the greatest ever, who was also involved with putting this whole thing together, because without him, I really don't believe none of it would have happened.
Absolutely.
He was a co-sponsor, the #1 for reparations in the city of Chicago, and that's the all-time great Dr. Conrad Warren.
Absolutely. We are in his namesake right now. do it again. So he was that type of person to push you further. So we are honored to keep his namesake and to be in his namesake, the track and field. He was a real brother. He was a black nationalist. He was an activist. He was an educator.
Yes,
so we are
my
proud of
educator.
that.
Yeah. And if it wasn't for him kicking that Chicago resolution back, now it was voted on back in 2020 where the reparations resolution was first passed in the city of Chicago. So Conrad challenged that resolution with some of the greatest, Pam Howard, Richard Boykin, Dr. Willie Wilson, and Alderman Roger Sawyer. So he would challenge it and kick it back every time it came to the forefront if it didn't make sense. So when he gave it the stamp of approval, that's when it was lobbied in city council and it passed 47-2.
Yes, clap it up, because that's important. That's important.
And so we're here today to honor him. We thank you all for coming out.
Yes.
And we have one more great accomplishment that just happened this year in June of 2024. Would you like to make that announcement?
Okay, so our wonderful mayor of Chicago,
Mayor
Brandon Johnson, actually on June 17th, signed an executive order where we were all here, the community partners were on stage. He signed Executive Order 2024-1, establishing the Reparations Task Force with $500,000 in the budget. That is just a start. That is just a start.
Now, so many people get confused and say, well, $500,000 is not enough to pay reparations. We know that. That was not to pay reparations. It takes money to get the plan moving. So to create the task force, and he put it in an office that's already existing. What's the name of the office that we're working with?
The Office of Equity and Racial Justice.
Absolutely. And so with that $500,000 through that office, we will gather a task force within the city of Chicago of great people that will work on behalf of actually writing the plan. This is not a study. It's time to tackle the racially profiled laws and all the hurt and harm that's been caused to our people in the city of Chicago since I can remember, and I'll be 60 this year. Absolutely. So it's time to correct that, and that's what this reparations plan will do. We will address the racially profiled laws, blacks participating in only 1% of the contracts, our devastating communities that has been intentionally disinvested in, our black youth are dying at an all-time rate. Most of our communities in the city of Chicago has been labeled the most dangerous, not only in the United States, but in this country. And that was a report that was put out back in May of 2024. And that's because of all the neglect, intentional neglect, that has happened during the administrations prior to this.
National standards, that apology is big.
Yes.
And it is one of the components, the 5 components for reparations
Absolutely.
by the United Nations.
So we know this room should be crowded, but we know God makes no mistakes.
In all times, yes.
Who's all intended to be here would be here, but this movement will continue. And our message to the DNC, the National Democrat Convention,
Absolutely.
You're here in Chicago, you want the black vote. Well, we're saying you have to earn the black vote.
Absolutely.
We will no longer be taken for granted. We will not vote for you because our ancestors and our forefathers did it.
Absolutely.
If you want our vote, earn our vote.
Yes.
Reparations. What do we want?
Reparations.
When do we want it?
Now.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you guys.
We hear from Mr. Maurice Woodard.
Thank you. How y'all doing today? Good. Honored to be here. I'll be brief. Like was said before me, I'm not gonna give y'all history lessons. I think we all know. We owe reparations, and what we do at Enos, we organize people. We beat the streets, we knock doors. So I'm here today to invite everybody to an action for reparations. We're located on the west side of the West Side Justice Center, about a mile and a half away from the United Center. So that's where we organize the black informal economy, people who used to be locked up, people who have to hustle. That's what we do it for. And what we heard from our people is we want to stand up for reparations. There's a lot of people coming to our city and our black neighborhoods marching for a whole lot of things. I'm free to land, ceasefire. For those people, we want to stand up for us. And we feel if you come to our city, you got to hear our voice. So the plan is to mobilize 1,000+ people. We've been working on it all year. We're going to be marching from the west side, down California, up Madison to Western, right to where they got their perimeter set. We're going to get as close to the United Center as possible. And the goal is, exactly as was said before me, y'all want the black vote, y'all got to earn it. Y'all can't just come to our city, all suit and tie up, having an event, and not hear from us. So come over to this table. We got all the information, the logistics written down. You join us Wednesday the 21st on the west side. We meeting up at 10, and we marching on the DNC to demand reparations to make sure they hear Black Chicago.
We are going to hear from Dr. Akila Makaram. Give her a round of applause as she comes. Thank you.
Thank you, my beautiful sister. I am the president of the Afro-Descendant Nation. Thank you. The Afro-Descendant Nation was established under the leadership and guidance of the Honorable Silas Muhammad. Knowing that we have our differences, we sought to establish a government that we could all live in and enjoy as a people, as an Afro-descendant people, which I will share that definition with you shortly. In our pre-DNC event last night, the Afro-Descendant Nation, the Encobra Chicago chapter, and Reparations United asked the DNC, the Democratic National Convention, to add reparations to their agenda. No one is speaking for us, so the Afro-Descendant Nation is speaking, forerunning for us, our people. Thank you. In April of this year, at the United Nations in Geneva, Switzerland, at the Permanent Forum on People of Ram, I am the president of the Afro-Descendant Nation. Thank you. The Afro-Descendant Nation was established under the leadership and guidance of the Honorable Silas Muhammad. Knowing that we have our differences, we sought to establish a government that we could all live in and enjoy as a people, as an Afro-descendant people, which I will share that definition with you shortly. In our pre-DNC event last night, the Afro-Descendant Nation, the Encobra Chicago chapter, and Reparations United asked the DNC, the Democratic National Convention, to add reparations to their agenda. No one is speaking for us, so the Afro-Descendant Nation is speaking, forerunning for us, our people. Thank you. The term Afro-descendants refers to descendants of peoples who were forcibly dispossessed of their homeland, Africa, were transported to the Americas and the slavery diaspora for the purpose of enslavement, were subjected to slavery, were subjected to forced mixed breeding and rape, have experienced through force the loss of mother tongue, culture, and religion, and or have experienced racial discrimination due to lost ties or partially lost ties from their original identity. Our identity as a people was forced out of our enslaved ancestors. So we were without an identity, a nationality, and we have been absorbed here in America, where our people and people worldwide do not know that we are a people here, because African American keeps us absorbed in America. We are no longer the true African that left, or not left, excuse me, was stolen from Africa. We are no longer that person, and we're definitely not of European descent.
And from Afro Elite, right now we will hear from Mr. James McCoy.
Woo! Afro! Afro!
First off, I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank you guys for the opportunity to speak. I appreciate that. We're all here because we believe in a cause that's going to save this city, that's going to make the lives of black people in this city better than it is right now. Our people, despite the semantics of what you prefer to be called, our people, the descendants of American slaves, built this entire country. This entire country, not just a city, not just the South. There would be no Chicago had there not been slavery in the South. There was slavery in the North, there was slavery in New York, there was slavery all over, in some way or another. In some way, directly or indirectly, the entire country was built off of slave labor, off of hundreds of years of oppression, subjugation, murder, rape, torture of our people. No reparations, none whatsoever. We've tried to build our own societies, which we have. We became successful. What did they do? Did they leave us alone? No, they actually went there, they flooded some, they burned some to the ground, they stole some with eminent domain, they ran highways through some, and they keep telling us the problem is not them, the problem is us. The problem is the fact that we don't work hard enough. The problem is the fact that we need to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, the same bootstraps that they burned down to the ground, because that's what we did. We need to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. We need to buckle our pants, stop sagging, stop listening to this hip-hop music. We need to speak properly. Don't speak in this ghetto slang. Stop complaining. I mean, we built everything they have. They wouldn't have anything. Chicago wouldn't exist had it not been for us. New York wouldn't exist had it not been for us. Nothing would exist. The railroads, nothing would exist had it not been for us. And every time we get somewhere, we get stripped from the body. We're the first fired, last hired. We don't get business loans. They take our houses away. We get falsely incarcerated. The government of the United States of America plants drugs and guns in our community, then locks us up and tells us, well, we didn't make you take the drugs. We didn't make you sell it. Yeah, we put it there, but that's your fault. You're getting reparations and resources. You got homeless black folk, veterans sleeping outside. They're sleeping all cozy in hotels, nice hotels. Some of them in the police stations. Now they're probably not there anymore because they beat all the police up after they gave them chicken pox. So if we gotta share, we gotta wait and share. We gotta wait and share. Why do they not have to wait and share? I think it's about time to start asking that question. Why do they not have to wait and share? I know there's criminals. Let's be honest. There's criminals coming over here committing crimes all up in the city. They get locked up. The judge says, let them go. They didn't know what they were doing. They changed their names. They commit another crime. They get locked up doing the same thing over and over again. They lock you up. You speed. Your license is suspended. Oh, you go to jail. Oh, you need bail. They don't need bail. They don't need anything. So let me ask you. Let me ask you. Justice delayed is justice denied. How long are we going to wait? How long are we going to compromise? How long are we going to say, well, let's hope that that vague little thing, that wink and a nod, is going to help us? I say no support at all for anything whatsoever. They're in a position right now, to do something like they have been for 4 years, and they have not done anything. I'm not saying we should support them, vote for them. Kamala's here trying to vote, support them and vote for them, and then hope we get an I owe you. Do something now. Do something before November and good graces, and we'll see. We'll see about it. You need to do something right now today, because if you don't do anything, you're not getting any support from us at all. You don't deserve it.
Give it up for our speakers tonight. They've had some really great information, great resources for us. And right now we will hear from Jamoke Ife Tayo with Reparations United.
I came all the way here from Florida to be here with you all today. It's really wild to call it the Dirty South. And it's called the Dirty South because brothers before me and other brothers already laid it out. All this happened in the South. They wanted to keep slavery so bad they went to war. Said we're going to lead the United States. And I'm not going to give a history lesson. A lot of history lessons have already been given. First, while I'm here in this space though, I want to acknowledge my brother, Dr. Conrad Worrell. I had the opportunity, that's right, clap it up. I had the opportunity to work with him. I was organized the Cobra conventions every year. I was the lead organizer that put the conventions together. And in 2019, the buzz for reparations just went to a whole nother level. And you had the presidential candidates talking about it. You had Cory Bush introducing the bill. It went to a whole nother level. So, and the conference was going to be in Detroit. And Conrad Worrell said, y'all just can't do a regular every old day convention like y'all been doing. Y'all got to take it to another level. So I gave him what we had proposed. And he basically said, that's a bunch of crap. He might have said a more harsh word, but we got young people to rule. But basically he told me that's a bunch of crap. And I did not let my ego get in the way. I said, all right, Baba, well, let's work on it. Let's make it be what it needs to be for our people. He said, well, let me have a conversation with my good brother, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So I'm going to introduce him to Cam Howard and see if he'll come to y'all's convention, and he did. Then we had another connection, Sister Joanne Watson, who's now an ancestor also. She said, Judge Mathis, my homeboy, let's bring Judge Mathis to the table too. Honorable Judge Mathis. So the bottom line is we put together a very strong and powerful conference. And I thank Dr. Conrad Worrell for that and all of the work that he's done here in Chicago and all the work that he's done on behalf of people of African descent. You know, like I said, a lot has been said already. So what I was trying to think about, which I think is just, what would be to leave you with something that you will remember, and you'll say, well, glad that one person spoke. So what I believe, and we had this conversation earlier today, some of the comrades that's going to speak today, and some that have spoken already, is we had this conversation on what is it going to take to actually get reparations. We've done a whole lot of work. We've done the legislative approach. We've worked on local reparations, passed it in Evanston. Y'all just passed it here in Chicago, the state of Illinois, California, New York, so many other places and cities and places around the country have moved reparations forward. We've worked hard and got 217 co-sponsors in Congress. We've worked to bring this conversation to a national level. And reparations is on everybody's heart as a person of African descent. But we still ain't crossed the finish line. And what I say it's going to take, is for us to go to Washington, D.C. in numbers. We get 1 million people to surround the White House and we ain't going nowhere until we get our reparations. That's what it's going to take. And I heard last year that DNC was going to be here in Chicago. They said, we're going to be ready for the DNC when it comes. And I thought that meant we're going to be protesting, we're going to be blocking traffic, we're going to keep them from getting into the convention, whatever it's going to take to get their attention. But I said, no matter what, I'm going to be here, all the way from Florida. I'm going to be here. And we need that passion from more people. Because when it's time to go to D.C., and let me make this one point that's very important. Matter of fact, I'm going to ask, there's a lot of older and younger people in the audience. Martin Luther King and others led a real powerful march in D.C. It's called the March on Washington. Somebody tell me what day of the week it was. Actually, somebody said it over there. They said it right here. It was on a Wednesday, y'all. It was on a Wednesday. That means you mean business. If you're gonna take off from work, probably, depending on how far you had to travel, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, but minimally Wednesday, that let them know that we were serious. So whenever you hear about a reparations march rally, you can say, if it's not on the week, if it's on the weekend, Jamoke said they ain't serious. Because we gotta let them know we're serious. Mr. Farrakhan, the Million Man March was on a Monday. They let them know we weren't playing, we were serious. So we gotta do the same thing with this reparation. Because people talk about all the different organizations coming together, the reparations movement. I'm not mad at that. But I think it's gonna be the people. You in this audience and hundreds and thousands of millions more showing up in DC and saying we're not leaving until reparations is done. That's it. It's not that difficult, not that hard. But we can do it, we must do it. You all need to do something on reparations before the election. Before the election, and then you can earn back the black vote. Because right now the statistics show that black people, even with Kamala Harris, still ain't 100% down with them. But we know, we've done the research that says if the Biden administration does something on reparations, black people will come out in large numbers and support. Those that were waffling, those that wasn't sure will come out. And so we are demanding that still. You got a flyer that was passed around to you earlier today that talks about a reparations strategy meeting. That's the meeting where we're going to put this in action, how we're going to strategize to continue to put pressure on them to do this reparations commission. We want them to do it by an executive order because it will be very difficult to pass through Congress. But more importantly, even if he does that, I still say, we're going to have to come to D.C. Everybody say, come to D.C. Come to D.C.
Come to D.C.
Come to D.C.
Come to D.C.
on the weekday.
On a weekday.
And not leave. Until we get our reparations.
Until we get our reparations.
I'm done. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Right now, we will hear from Mr. Jeff Trask from Champaign-Urbana Reparations Coalition. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to stick to my notes, so I don't be too long. Greetings from Champaign-Urbana Reparations Coalition, about 2 hours south of Chicago. Come to share a few things with you, but I want to first off say that the most that can be done is the least that should be done. Can you say that with me? The most that can be done is the least that should be done. Our ancestors were kidnapped as prisoners of war, enslaved, torn from their homes, and forced into unimaginable conditions of violence. The most that can be done is the least that should be done. Despite over 50 revolts and slave ships, while chained with no weapons, 20% did not make it to the voyage. Later, our ancestors turned the tide of the Civil War to fight for our freedom and defeated those who would like to keep us in chains forever. The most that can be done is the least that should be done. We suffered and continue to suffer through historical and modern day lynchings like that of Sonia Massey in Springfield, Illinois. It's a little bit away from Champaign. We suffered and continue to suffer through Jim Crow and civil rights and mass incarceration, redlining, and all the things we talked about tonight. The most that can be done is the least that should be done. And today we're calling for this country to start paying this debt due to us. We want to build way too high to measure. The most that can be done is the least that should be done. One of the main things I want to share with you tonight is a couple people down in Champaign that are doing some remarkable things. One of them is a Dr. Keisha David. She's an anthropology professor down at the University of Illinois. She has come up with a genealogy testing program so that we can test our DNA, so we can find out how much Scottish we have in our blood or how much German we have. She's doing it so that we connect with our ancestry in Africa. And get this, it's not just a matter of finding out how much Nigerian or whatever you have in you. It's to connect us with living relatives, right? Living relatives going all the way back to Africa, where we were first kidnapped in the first place. And she's already done this. She's connected people here in Chicago to family in Ghana that have been separated from the time they were taken off on slave ships, right? So there's some wonderful work that she's doing, and I'm excited about it, and we will give you guys information about how you can get tested. You can find out your living relatives. It goes all the way from this current generation all the way back 400 years. A second person I want to acknowledge is the Representative Carol Ammons. State Representative Carol Ammons was able to sponsor this program and went through is that when it comes to reparations, it's not a side order. It's not something that should be done if you have extra time and money. It's not something that you do when you just got something to do on your to-do list. Reparations should be fully integrated in the main course of everything we do in our society. After all, slavery wasn't a side order, Jim Crow wasn't a side order, mass incarceration and redlining wasn't side orders, so neither should reparations. And don't let anybody ever tell you there's not enough money for reparations. If you were to take all the assets in this country and to spread them out equally among every single adult American, 266 adult Americans, we will all have $445,000 each, with just the assets that are currently in this country. If you spread it out equally, do not ever let anybody tell you that there's no money for reparations. Top 1% owns more assets than the bottom 80% of our population here in the United States. So like I said, reparations, it should be every city budget, it should be every state budget, it should be every hospital budget, every church budget, every federal budget, our federal budget, and every corporation and business budget. The most that can be done is the least that should be done. And I'll believe one thing, you don't have to change the world in order to start reparations either. There's a church back in Champaign that has probably about 50 or so members, but they're dedicated towards paying African Americans who attended that church. So they have $1,000 a year for 25 young people who are African American, who went to that church, their ancestors went to that church to pay for their education down the line. $1,000 a year until they go to college. We can all do something. We should make sure we don't let anyone tell us things cannot be done. Remember, the most that can be done is the least that should be done.
These resources are amazing. Hope you take this, come down in your phones. And right now we're going to briefly hear from Kalana Scott, who is from the NAACP.
Good evening, everyone. How are you all doing? Awesome, awesome. So I know that you all have seen our teams coming and matriculating through here all day long, fellowshipping with you all. So thank you for welcoming us. Thank you for allowing us to speak. We have teams all over the city with the DNC. We are here with representing the NAACP. So when you stop and you talk to one of our individuals out here, please listen. Why? Because the NAACP has been around fighting for us, fighting for justice, equality, and a brighter future for all of us, for the future. And that's what we continue to do. So our team is not just here at this event. We are spread out throughout the city to spread the word. And so we have a few of us that are still here. I want you just to stop, take a listen to them, hear what they have to say. We're interested in volunteers to work with us, to work with this cause, so that we can push the missions for us. Don't we agree that this is important? Yes. I agree as well. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. I have about 4 team members that are still here, and any event that you go to that's going to be happening in the city, you may see us out there, you may see our smiling faces, and this is our entire NAACP canvassing team, okay? So thank you for your time.
All right, now next up we will hear from Mr. Oscar Worrell, who is the brother of Dr. Conrad. Mr. Oscar Worrell. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. This has been a long time coming. So let me set the record straight. This building that you are housed in was the direct result of Dr. Conrad Worrell's 35-year effort to have a state-of-the-art track and field center built for our young people in the inner city. It is owned and operated by the Chicago Park District. The management team is ASM Low, it's overpricing the rental of the place. Now, what I need to say is that the family of Dr. Conrad Worrell Center has been in the negotiations, conversations with Patrice, Dr. Keisha, to develop the diplomacy that needs to be created to support the Conrad War Rail Reparations Commission. The Conrad War Rail Reparations Commission is a direct result of his lifelong legacy. This building is for you to come and organize. I want to make that straight. What the Conrad War Rail Community Reparations Commission, their mission is to organize all of the groups in the city of Chicago to come together in a coalition to lobby, which they did successfully, for Mayor Johnson to put a task force with a $500,000 budget for reparations. That's a drop in the bucket. That's a drop in the bucket. So we don't want to be insulted by any more, because I was online with the Afro-descendants last night and I heard one phrase, political will. Because the white folks in the Congress, whether they be Republican or Democrat, they're not getting ready to pass no legislation about reparations. How did Abraham Lincoln free the slave, quote unquote, with the Emancipation Proclamation? And when they assassinated him, they went back and then we were involved in Reconstruction. It is this group that is now ready in the city of Chicago, the state of Illinois, and the United States government, where we elect Kamala Harris to be the president of the United States of America, to lobby her to put an executive order together on reparations. It's not going to be passed in the Congress. White folks ain't going to never admit that they owe us reparations. We are ready to organize politically. And the voice that you are hearing right now is going to work with Lakeisha, Dr. Lakeisha and Beatrice in Cobra, Afro-descendant, because my brother trained me. I'm 10 years, he is still, I'm 72 years old. I just retired as a 35-year inspector with the Department of Water Management. I'm one of the few inspectors that went citywide. I am a certified Chicago public school teacher. This building is for you to organize the reparation movement, and that's why this is here. I want every organization to contact me, and I will tell you how to rent this place to organize.
Right now we will hear from, my mic died, Mr. Linwood Tahid. Thank you.
Good evening, all. I am from Kansas City, Missouri, so I don't know very many of you. I know a few. But let me first say that I am honored to be in this facility. Dr. Conrad Worrell, I had the pleasure of working with him for many years as a member of the Kansas City Black United Front. And I also had an opportunity to be invited by him to do some research for the Illinois Transatlantic Slave Trade Commission. I'm an economist. I teach economics at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. Done that for a few decades. And so I was, like I said, I was honored to participate in that project. And when I was first asked to participate in that project, was a study of the effects of the transatlantic slave trade on the African American, the black community. I don't do slavery research. I don't do that. And so I decided to look at the effects on our community of oppression by this system controlled by white folks on us after slavery, after emancipation. And so don't let anyone tell you that reparations is about slavery. That's part of it. But reparations is about the history of oppression of black folks in this country, certainly for over 400 years.
Come on now.
Okay, didn't start in 1619, started 1492. But as an economist, I was asked to give some numbers, and I have some numbers. You know, I'm going to give you some numbers. Don't focus on the numbers. The numbers are not important as such. And so I don't remember them, I'm going to read them. What you focus on is how the numbers have changed, okay? And so there's a survey called the Survey of Consumer Finance, which looks at various financial variables, financial numbers for the U.S. community. It's done by the Bureau of Census. And it tracks, one of the things that it tracks is called the household wealth, right? So median household wealth. Wealth being the difference between what a person owns, the value of what they own, and the value of what they owe. So it's your assets minus your liabilities. You come up with a net worth figure. In 1989, the mean household net worth for whites was $460,000. 1989. Most of that wealth is held in the value of a person's home. But that's $460,000 in 1989. In 1989, the median household black wealth was $82,000. That's a gap of $378,000. Okay? In 2019, 30 years later, the median household income for whites was $980,000, almost $1 million. For blacks, it was $142,000. That gap is $838,000. In 30 years, that gap more than doubled. Okay, now we can look at things like redlining. The values of houses in black communities did not increase at the rate of the value of houses in white communities. That's a significant part of that gap. Redlining is a recognized discriminatory practice. You know, nobody disputes that anymore. And so that increase in value was due to the fact that black folks could not own houses that would appreciate at the rate that white houses would appreciate. We take that another 5 years to 2024 to right now. There's an estimate, I estimated, that the white household at the same rate would own over $1 million, $1,111,000. The black household net worth would be $161,000. That's a $950,000 gap. Don't think about the numbers, think about what's happening. The gap is getting bigger, and it's doubling, at least doubling every 30 years. And I want you to think about that because there are people who have done studies, and you'll see this in the newspaper every now and then. The last study, I remember someone said that, you know, if blacks can close the wealth gap in about 285 years, right? Now, that's a long time, but I think that statistic is intended to give you some hope, right? That, well, you just keep doing what you're doing, things are getting better, that gap is going to close. And what they'll say is, if blacks get more involved in business, that'll close the gap. We need to save more of our income. That'll close the gap. We need to have investments. That'll close the gap. But how do you save as much of your income as white families if they have significantly more income than black families?
That's right.
You can't save money that you don't have. You can't invest with money that you don't have. Right? So these ways of closing the gap that are proposed don't work. They don't make mathematical sense. The gap is widening because when you start ahead in the race and you continue to move faster than those behind you, the gap widens. This is understood. You have to run faster, be able to run faster to catch up with someone who's ahead of you. The only way to close the wealth gap is reparations. That's the only way to close it. And why do we want to close the wealth gap? Because we understand that wealth is power. That's not a secret. We understand that wealth is power. Those with money have the power to influence things. We see that happening very clearly in politics, where those who have had the wealth have used that to drive black elected officials out of office. And they will continue to do that because wealth is power. So we need to develop some power. And wealth and reparations is a way of doing that. But I want you to think about this. When we win, reparations comes into our community tomorrow, what do we spend that money on? Okay, so you get that money that was spent, came out of the federal government's borrowing power, more than enough to pay reparations of $14 trillion over a 10-year period. There's more than enough money there. The important thing to remember is, when we get reparations, what are we going to spend it on? We can't wait until reparations comes to build a black economy so that we can keep the wealth in our community when we get it.
Well, the time has come. It's almost 8 o'clock. We just want to extend a great big thank you to all of our speakers. We want to say thank you for coming out. I hope everyone here has something to take back to your community, to your families, so that we can continue to spread the word that reparations now is what we're standing for, what we're demanding for, okay? We have a presidential election coming up in November, and if you want the black vote, earn the black vote. The first thing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did when they got elected is they pushed an executive order to give right to citizenship to millions of immigrants. Use that same power of authority to put reparations into play. So thank you guys, thank you so much, thank you for coming. I want to thank DJ Phantom and his crew. I want to thank Beyonce Fox. I want to thank all the wonderful people, our vendors, Lakeisha, Latham, my near and dear partner, wherever you are in the building. Stay tuned, stay in touch. Be sure to go to our website, ChicagoReparations.org, and sign up so that we can have your information to keep you in tune and in touch about future events and the status of reparations in Chicago. Thank you to the Convoy World, track and field, to the staff. Thank you to everybody. Have a great evening and be safe, Chicago.